All right. I see where that hit. Let's see if we get any kind of a group. I'm not going to adjust my sights, my scope. Just shooting for group here. Oh, amazing. Wow. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Twang and Bang. Ordinarily, I'm not going to get that excited about printing a two-shot group like that at 100 yards with the centerfire rifles that I own. But it wasn't a centerfire rifle. It's an air rifle. It's a 45 caliber air rifle hurling lead slugs like this with more kinetic energy than shooting this 45 Colt out of that revolver. It's called the Texan, and the manufacturer AirForce maintains that it's the world's most powerful production air rifle. And that's what's coming up next on Twang and Bang. The Texan gets its name not just from its massive 34-inch barrel or its crushing 500 foot-pounds of available kinetic energy, but it's also made in the AirForce Airguns factory in Fort Worth, Texas. At 8 pounds of primarily aluminum and steel construction, the Texan not only has centerfire rifle ballistics, but it also has a centerfire rifle feel. The machining and finish match that found on high-end ARs costing double the Texan's $1,055 MSRP. The Texan's 45 caliber barrel is made by Lothar Walther. 308 and 357 caliber variants were just introduced at SHOT Show 2016, giving shooters greater velocities and flatter trajectories for hunting predators and smaller game. Dovetail runs along the top and bottom of the handguard as well as the raised scope rail. 7-slot proprietary Picatinny sections slide anywhere onto the dovetail and will interlock to allow you to make as long a mounting surface as you need. The trigger has a broad serrated shoe that is height adjustable. Its 2-stage action breaks very cleanly at around 2 pounds. The Texan has an adjustable power valve that allows the shooter to tune gas to maximize either power or shot count. Even still, the 490cc reservoir is generally only good for 2 or 3 full power shots at its maximum 3000 psi fill pressure. Like other AirForce rifles, the reservoir doubles as the buttstock with an adjustable shoulder piece and padded cheek rest. The reservoir can be changed in the field with the included spanner and hex wrenches to maximize the number of shots you can make before returning for a fill. Speaking of which, as a pre-charged pneumatic rifle, the Texan must be filled from an external air source, such as this 88 cubic foot carbon fiber wrap tank from Air Venturi. The fill port is not regulated, so you must be sure not to fill the onboard reservoir above 3000 psi. Unlike some air rifles, the Texan won't give you more velocity out of overfills as they tend to result in valve lock, which paradoxically reduces velocity with greater fill pressures. The Texan is a single shot loaded by opening the cocking lever, inserting your chosen projectile until it's fully seated against the breech of the barrel, then closing the locking lever. The safety automatically engages as the action is opened, with large graphics depicting its safe and fire positions. I've mounted a Hawk Optics 4-15 by 50 adjustable objective rifle scope with an illuminated mil-dot reticle. This will allow me to zero at my preferred range, then have precise holdovers for targets at ranges beyond that with no need to dial the turrets. The kinetic energy that this puts out is really impressive for an air gun. There are more powerful air guns available that are custom made, that are low production run, but AirForce maintains a claim that the Texan is the most powerful production air gun in the world, meaning that it's mass produced to quantities. You can order them instantly online or walk into different air gun stores and buy these. There's no waiting, there's no customization, they're not hand building them to order. And what's amazing is how much it feels like a center fire rifle, a handgun caliber. The trigger is a very nice 2-stage trigger, and it's got recoil. It's got recoil like shooting a 45 caliber rifle. That is incredible. How powerful is the Texan? It generates more velocity and kinetic energy than a 45 Colt handgun, though it does take 34 inches of barrel to generate that. It's also capable of shooting lead slugs with weights that put most centerfire handgun rounds to shame. Check out what I get from the 457 caliber air rifle bullets from Hunter Supply. 737 feet per second with a 405 grain bullet. These aren't pellets, these are bullets. Lead slug. There we go, 785 with a 350 grain lead slug. Woo! .739. Now I'm going to try these Thompson Center Super 45 XR Sabos with the Shockwave bullet. These are designed to expand at higher velocities than what we're going to get out of this. But I still want to see if these fly. They seat. So far so good. I was told that this should be okay shooting out of this, so fingers crossed. Oh, 902 feet per second. Woo! It was nice and soft shooting too. Ooh, that's interesting. But that's a big drop in feet per second there. That was worth trying. I'm going to go show you what that target looks like. Okay, so I just painted a dot on some butcher paper. That was my point of aim. We're at 50 yards. We're right at 50 yards. And that was shot number 1, shot number 2, shot number 3, shot number 4, shot number 5. And it's at about 8.5 inches spread. So 8.5 inch group, but from the first 3 shots off of a filled tank. No, that's not something I'd be looking forward to shooting at game, not at all. That might not be a group I'd be happy with, but days earlier I had already printed some nice groups with the Hunter Supply slugs. Each of these groups is shot starting with a 3,000 PSI fill with no refills between the shots. That is a serious kick. That is fun though. That is really fun. I say serious kick, I mean for an air gun. I mean, it's not really that bad, but you just don't expect it from an air gun. Bam! Oh my gosh. Woo! Yeah, that might be a 1 3/4 inch group at 50 yards. That's plenty good for hunting. No problems. And these things hit hard. I've already shot up a concrete block with this exact round. And but I'm going to be shooting 3-shot groups because I have to refill after 3 shots to make sure that I've got the right pressure behind these. That's insane. Beautiful. That is right at an inch. Now let's take a look at what the Texan can do with all of its kinetic energy against a 2x6 board at 25 yards. Well, I don't remember what round I last used and have this sighted in for, but I'm only 25 yards away from the board and I should be on the board. This is the 405 grain slug, 3,000 PSI fill. Right through it. Didn't even slow down. That's awesome. That's really cool. And there you go, nice clean hole on that side.
and it blew the back out. I don't know whether that was a slug expanding or just pushing wood out of the way. This is not the actual slug that I shot because it's somewhere deep in that bullet box. I'm never gonna find it, but it just gives you an idea of how big these things are. It's crazy. And of course, that shouldn't be too unexpected to go through this, but that's a massive hole. I could stick my thumb inside of there. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so that was just stupid fun, but I like having stupid fun with things like the Texan. I've already done a video busting up a concrete block with it, and I'll link to that video in the video description below. This is more than just a lot of kinetic energy. Obviously, it's got pretty good accuracy. The best groups that I have seen, however, come from reviewers that have topped off getting a full 3,000 PSI fill before making every single shot. And some reviewers that I trust have been able to get 5-shot groups under an inch at 100 yards, which is really, really impressive for any rifle, especially an air rifle with this much kinetic energy. Now, you're not gonna get your best shots pulling this out of the box. It's got a 34-inch barrel, and because these slugs are moving at pistol velocities, there's a lot of barrel time between when you pull the trigger and when this bullet has left the muzzle. And so that means that any body English that you have as you pull that trigger is going to translate to a wide group. And it took me a fair bit of shooting before I settled in and I realized, okay, now I'm showing the kinds of groups that the rifle is capable of, and I'm not getting in the way of that. The other thing that I found out, and I think it's related to that, is it shoots better off of a soft rest than it does off the bipod you see here or off of a hard rest like a shooting rail. So you need to try that out yourself. If you're not getting good groups with a bipod, shoot off of a bag. And if you need to shoot off of a bag to get the best groups, make sure you have a small bag to flip over the shooting rail when you go hunting, because you owe it to your game to be shooting in the field the same way that you shoot in practice. If you want to learn more about the AirForce Texan, be sure to click the link in the video description below. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. You can see the links right here. And be sure to click right here to subscribe so you can catch my next videos on bows, guns, and other cool stuff like the AirForce Texan. I really appreciate you watching Twang and Bang, and I hope to see you next time.